You're sitting at the dinner table. Someone says something that hits you like a cold wave, a snide comment, a passive-aggressive remark, maybe even a flat-out lie about who you are. And you feel it. Your jaw tightens. Your chest compresses like someone is standing on it. Your mind races through 100 different responses, each one sharper than the last. And then, you say it. You fire back. Maybe it's clever. Maybe it lands. Maybe it even feels good for about 4 seconds. But then the room shifts. You can feel it. The temperature drops. Eyes avoid yours. And somewhere deep in your gut, a quiet voice whispers, "You shouldn't have said that." Sound familiar? Or maybe it's a different scene. You're at work. Your boss takes credit for something you built from scratch. And instead of staying composed, staying strategic, you let everyone in that meeting room know exactly how you feel. And the weeks that follow. Difficult. Political. Cold. Or maybe it's even quieter than that. A friend is venting about their problems, and before they've even finished their sentence, you're already solving, already correcting, already talking, when all they needed was for you to sit in the silence with them. Here's what no one tells you. In almost every situation that costs you, your reputation, your relationships, your peace of mind, the damage wasn't done by what happened to you. It was done by the words you chose in the moments right after. The ancient Stoics knew something that most people spend their entire lives learning the hard way. They knew that the mouth, left unchecked, is the fastest way to undermine everything your discipline is quietly building. They knew that silence, real, intentional, powerful silence, is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is not defeat. It is one of the most sophisticated weapons a human being can carry. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly when to use it. Not because someone told you to be quiet, but because you understand why, on a bone-deep, philosophy-backed, real-world tested level, silence is the move that the wisest, most powerful people in history kept reaching for again and again. 9 situations. 9 shifts. Let's begin. This video covers 9 specific situations where the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, and others, would tell you clearly, say nothing. Not because you have nothing to offer. Not because your feelings don't matter. But because in these 9 moments, silence is what serves your highest self, your longest goals, and the people around you far better than any words can. This is not about suppressing who you are. It's not about becoming a doormat or swallowing your truth forever. This is about strategic wisdom. The kind that separates people who react from people who lead, people who perform from people who endure. If that distinction matters to you, and I suspect it does, or you wouldn't be here, then subscribe if you haven't already. We go deep on Stoic philosophy, applied to the real, messy, complicated lives we're all actually living. Hit that button, and let's get into this. Are you ready? Lesson 1. When you are angry. You know the feeling. Something happens, a betrayal, a criticism, an injustice, and something ignites inside you. Your pulse quickens. Your thoughts sharpen into weapons. And every cell in your body is screaming, say something. Say it now. Make them understand. Here's the counterintuitive truth the Stoics discovered thousands of years ago. The moment you feel most compelled to speak is almost always the worst possible moment to open your mouth. Think of anger like a fire in your hands. You think you're holding it, directing it, pointing it at the person who deserves it, but fire doesn't discriminate. It burns whatever it touches, including you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Read that again slowly. The consequences. Not just the embarrassing outburst. Not just the words you can't take back. The consequences, the weeks, the months, the years that follow a moment you chose to speak when you should have stayed silent. Think of a man named David, not a famous figure, just someone you might know. A brilliant engineer, sharp as anyone in his field. One afternoon, his manager publicly dismisses his idea in front of the whole team. David responds immediately, loudly, his frustration pouring out in front of colleagues and leadership alike. He feels justified. He was justified. But justified anger, spoken at full volume, cost David 2 years of stagnated career progression, a reputation for being difficult, and a relationship with his manager that never recovered. Here's the practice. When you feel that surge, pause. Breathe. Not a shallow breath, but a deep one, slow enough that it irritates you to take it. Then ask yourself just one question. If I say this right now, what is the most likely outcome in 5 days? Not 5 minutes. 5 days. Most of the time, that one question will dissolve the urgency completely. When anger rises, silence is not surrender. It is the calm before your precision. Lesson 2. When you want to prove yourself. Someone doubts you, underestimates you. Maybe they do it openly, or maybe it's that subtle dismissal, the slight, the look, the way they skip past you in a room full of people. And suddenly, every instinct fires at once. Let me show you. Let me tell you everything I've done. Let me make you see me. But here's the reframe that changes everything. The person who needs to prove themselves has already placed their value in someone else's hands. And the Stoics were absolutely ruthless about this. Imagine a mountain. It doesn't argue with the clouds that pass through it. It doesn't try to convince the rain to fall differently. It simply stands. Its height is not determined by whether anyone looks up. Epictetus, who was born into slavery and rose to become one of the most influential philosophers in history, said, "If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, 'He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these.'" What did Epictetus understand? That your worth is not a debate you need to win. The more you try to argue for your own value, the more you signal to everyone, including yourself, that you doubt it. Think of someone like James. He's been passed over for a promotion, and a colleague makes a comment that implies he wasn't ready. James spends the next hour in the break room explaining his credentials, his accomplishments, his late nights. And by the end of that conversation, something strange has happened. Everyone in that room feels just a little less certain about James. Because confidence doesn't explain itself. It demonstrates itself. Quietly. Over time. The practice. Next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, write it down instead of saying it out loud. Get it out of your system on paper. Then ask, what action, not what words, would make this point better? Let the work speak. Let time speak. Keep your mouth shut and get back to building. You are not on trial. Stop defending yourself to judges who didn't appoint you. Lesson 3. When others are gossiping. You're in a group. Maybe it's friends, maybe it's co-workers, maybe it's family. And the conversation tilts. Someone starts talking about someone who isn't there. It's casual, it's familiar, it's almost comfortable. There's a warmth to gossip, isn't there? A kind of social glue. And the silence feels awkward, so you lean in, you add something small, you participate. But here's what's quietly happening beneath the surface. Every word you add to that conversation is a deposit in a bank account you don't control, and it's earning interest in ways you can't predict. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. The implicit reverse is this. Time spent tearing others down in their absence teaches you nothing, and it teaches everyone watching you something you'd rather they didn't know. Think of words like seeds. When you scatter them carelessly into gossip, you don't always know what grows. Sometimes it blooms back into rumor with your name attached to it. Sometimes it poisons a friendship you valued. Sometimes it simply reflects the quality of soil you're choosing to plant yourself in. There was a woman, call her Priya, mid-level in a competitive company, well-liked, sharp. She had a habit of joining in when office gossip circulated. Nothing malicious, just participation. One day it circled back. A comment she'd made about a colleague found its way to that colleague's ears, distorted slightly in transit. The fallout wasn't dramatic, but a quiet distance settled in, a trust was lost, and a potential ally became a permanent neutral at best. The practice is simple but requires presence. When gossip begins, don't shame the group, don't lecture, just redirect. Change the topic naturally. Ask a question about something else. If you can't redirect, simply go quiet. Nod, look thoughtful, say nothing. People rarely notice a gentle absence of voice in a crowd. What they do notice, and remember, is the voice that carried the story farthest. In a room full of noise, your silence about others is one of the loudest signals of your character. Lesson 4. When you have just won. This one surprises people. You've just won. The argument, the deal, the promotion, the confrontation. You were right. You were vindicated. You were better in that moment, and everyone in the room knows it. So what's the harm in letting yourself feel it, in letting the moment land fully, in saying just a few words that underscore the victory? Here's the harm. It erases the win. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Victory, in the Stoic frame, is not a performance. It is a private fact. The moment you perform it, you've turned something solid into something fragile, something now dependent on the audience's applause to feel real. Think of a chess grandmaster. When they win, they don't gloat across the board. They simply extend a hand. The win already happened. Words add nothing to it, but they can subtract everything from it. Think of a businessman named Leo. He spent months negotiating a contract, and when it finally lands in his favor, he makes a comment at the celebration dinner. Just a line, a half-joke really, that implies the other party was outmatched. It gets back to them. A future deal, worth far more, never materializes. One unnecessary sentence, spoken in the glow of victory, cost him far more than the original win was worth. The practice, in the moment of victory, count to 10 before you speak. Then ask, does saying this serve a purpose beyond making me feel good right now? If the answer is no, save it for your journal, tell it to someone you trust privately, and move on. Let your results sit in the room and speak for themselves. Silence after victory is not modesty for show. It is the Stoic understanding that every peak is followed by a journey, and loud peaks attract attention you haven't finished earning. Lesson 5. When you don't have all the facts. You hear something. Half a story, maybe. A rumor, a version, a fragment. And your mind, which is wired to complete incomplete patterns, fills in the rest automatically. It feels like knowledge. It feels like certainty. So you speak from it as though it is. This is one of the most quietly destructive habits a human being can have, and one of the hardest to catch, because it doesn't feel like assumption. It feels like clarity. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And what he means is devastating in its simplicity. The mouth, when opened prematurely, forecloses the mind. You stop learning the moment you start declaring. Imagine a river. The surface moves fast, looks certain, looks complete. But beneath it, currents you can't see, depths you haven't measured. A person who jumps in because the surface looked safe has confused appearance for reality. A woman named Clara is told by a mutual friend that her colleague, Mark, has been undermining her to management. She confronts Mark at lunch, publicly and with force. She's articulate, she's wounded, she's compelling. 2 days later, she finds out the story was distorted. Mark had actually defended her in that meeting, and someone else entirely had been the problem. The relationship with Mark is damaged. Her reputation for emotional reactivity quietly spreads. All because she spoke before she saw the whole river. The practice is 3 steps. 1. Before speaking on anything significant, ask yourself, what is the source of this, and how many steps removed is it from first-hand? 2. Sit on the information for at least 1 day before acting on it publicly. 3. Lead with questions, not statements. "I heard something and I wanted to come to you directly" is a sentence that opens doors. "I know what you did" is a sentence that slams them. Speaking before you have the full picture doesn't make you look decisive. It makes you look dangerous. Lesson 6. When someone is grieving. Someone you care about is in pain. Real, deep, gutting pain, the kind that comes from loss, from failure, from the specific kind of loneliness that other people can't quite touch. And you want to help. Of course you do. So you speak. You offer perspective. You look for the silver lining. You share a similar story from your own life. You tell them it'll get better, that time heals, that everything happens for a reason. And somehow, despite every good intention, the person in front of you seems to close slightly. A wall goes up, almost imperceptibly, and the real moment of connection, slips away. Here's the truth that the Stoics understood, and that modern psychology confirms. Grief does not want an argument. It does not want a solution. It wants a witness. Seneca, writing to his friend Lucilius on loss, said, "Let us say what we feel, and feel what we say. Let speech harmonize with life." What he was pointing to was not clever words, but presence. Words that match the emotional reality of the moment, not words that try to rewrite it. Think of silence in grief like water. It takes the shape of whatever it fills. It doesn't push. It doesn't insist. It simply surrounds. And somehow, in that surrounding, people feel less alone than they do with even the most eloquent speech. Think of a father, recently widowed. His son visits and immediately tries to fill every silence with memories, logistics, reassurances, plans. The father nods along, grateful but somehow exhausted. A week later, his daughter visits. She sits beside him. She sometimes says nothing for minutes at a time. She cries when he cries. She laughs at the old story he tells for the 5th time. He calls her every day for a month afterward. The practice: when someone is in pain, let them speak until they are empty before you say a word. Don't prepare your response while they talk. Actually listen. And when you do speak, let it be small. "I'm here. I hear you." That sounds incredibly hard. Then go quiet again. You are not there to fix the storm. You are there to be the eye of it. Presence without words is one of the most profound gifts one human being can give another. Lesson 7. When you are about to repeat yourself. You've said it before. Maybe more than once. To the same person, in the same conversation, about the same subject. And it hasn't landed yet, so something in you decides, say it again but louder. Say it again but differently. Say it just one more time and maybe this time they'll understand. This is the trap. And it is one that Marcus Aurelius wrote directly against when he urged himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Because repetition, in conflict, is rarely about communication. It is about control. It is the belief that if you say it enough times, reality will rearrange itself to match your words. Think of a hammer. One precise strike drives a nail cleanly. But striking the same spot over and over, after the nail has gone as deep as it will go, doesn't drive it further. It just dents the surface. It just damages what's already there. A couple, not named here because you probably recognize them, is in an argument that has circled the same point 4 times in an hour. She's explained her feeling. He's explained his reasoning. Neither has shifted. And so they each say their position again, slightly rephrased, slightly louder. 2 hours later, nothing has changed except the temperature of the room and the distance between them. The practice: in any conversation where you catch yourself about to repeat a point you've already made clearly, stop. Take a breath. Say instead, "I think I've shared what I wanted to say. I'd rather give you time to think about it." And then genuinely stop. If the point was worth making, it will work in silence. If it wasn't received, more words won't fix that, but space might. Repeating yourself in frustration is not clarity. It is evidence that you've already said everything useful, and you're now just making noise. Lesson 8. When your success is still new. You have something to be proud of. A new venture, a new insight, a goal you've been quietly working toward that is finally showing early signs of life. The temptation is real, to share it, to announce it, to let the world know that something important is happening for you. And here's where the Stoics offer guidance that cuts against the grain of almost everything modern culture tells you. Protect what is young. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, was famously private about his work in the years it was forming. He understood, on an almost cellular level, that premature exposure kills growth. Not because other people are always malicious, but because attention, before something is ready, changes its shape. Your new idea, your new beginning, your new self, it needs silence to harden into something real. Think of a seedling. Underground, it is invisible, soft, vulnerable. Pull it out of the soil too early to show someone how well it's growing, and you interrupt the very process you're trying to celebrate. The seed doesn't need an audience. It needs darkness, stillness, and time. A young entrepreneur, call him Kofi, starts working on an idea that genuinely excites him. He tells everyone. He posts about it. He talks about it at every dinner. And something strange begins to happen. The talking starts to substitute for the doing. The external feedback, both the praise and the doubt, starts to shape his direction in ways that drift him from his original vision. He's 18 months in before he realizes he's been building for an audience that formed before his idea was ready, and it has cost him the very clarity that made the idea worth building in the first place. The practice. Choose one person, one trusted, honest, genuinely invested person, to share early progress with. Just one. Keep everything else in a private journal. Let the work grow in the dark for as long as it can. Announce when you have something to show, not just something to say. The things that last are built in silence. The things announced too early are often abandoned to the sound of their own echo. Lesson 9. When you know you're right. Save this one. Sit with it. Because this might be the hardest one of all. You read in a room, or a conversation, or a comment section, or a family dinner, and you know you're right. Not arrogantly, not selfishly, genuinely, factually, evidentially right. You have the information. You have the experience. You have the knowledge that would correct the error sitting right in front of you. And every intelligent bone in your body is leaning toward the door marked speak. What the Stoics understood, and what almost no one else talks about, is that being right and saying you're right are two completely different events, with completely different costs. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." What he's pointing to is this: every time you correct, you create a relationship between you and the other person that centers on your superiority in this moment. And human beings, being human, don't always feel grateful for that. They feel diminished. They become resistant. And they will, quietly, find ways to make you wrong in the future, just to restore the balance. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't chase every passing ship to make sure it's been seen. It simply shines, consistently, in one direction. The ships that need the light will find it. The ones that don't aren't your responsibility. A professor, brilliant, deeply informed, widely respected in her field, has a habit of correcting people in social settings. Factual errors, logical fallacies, misremembered statistics. She's always correct. And she's always slightly alone at the end of the evening. Not because she's unkind, but because people don't look for friends who make them feel like students. They look for people in whose presence they feel seen. Do this. When you know you're right and feel the pull to correct, pause. Ask yourself, is this a high-stakes situation where the error has consequences? If yes, speak clearly, privately when possible, with compassion. If no, let it go. Completely and genuinely let it go. And if you catch yourself bringing it up later, that's your signal that this was never about the information. It was about something else worth examining. Knowing you're right, and choosing silence anyway, that is not weakness. That is one of the rarest and most sophisticated forms of strength a person can exercise. 9 situations. 9 moments where the Stoic path is the quiet one. Not because silence is always easy. Not because these moments don't deserve a response. But because the Stoics, men and women who lived through war, exile, slavery, loss and empire, discovered something that no amount of clever speech can replace. The person who governs their tongue governs their world. Think about the situations we've walked through. Anger. The need to prove yourself. Gossip. Victory. Incomplete information. Grief. Repetition. New beginnings. And the quiet, dangerous pull of being right. In every single one of those moments, the Stoics would ask you the same question. Who is in control right now, you or the impulse? Because here's the thing they never stop reminding us. You are not your reactions. You are not the noise inside the moment. You are something slower, quieter, and far more durable than the rush to speak. You are the pause between the provocation and the response. And in that pause, if you learn to live there, you will find something most people spend their whole lives looking for. You will find yourself. Marcus Aurelius, a man who led an empire, fought wars, outlived children, and somehow managed to remain one of the most introspective and self-examined human beings who ever lived, kept a private journal that no one was supposed to see. He didn't write to be right. He didn't write to be remembered. He wrote to stay honest with himself in the quiet. That journal is called Meditations, and we still read it 2,000 years later. Not because he was loud, because he understood the power of what to keep silent. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 9 situations is the hardest for you to stay quiet in, and why? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one, and your answer might shape the next video. And if this resonated with you today, share it with someone in your life who could use the reminder. Not because they're failing, but because they're exactly the kind of person who's ready to hear it. Until next time, stay still, stay sharp, stay stoic.